Imagine for a moment that Russia is about to embark on one of the most colossal infrastructure projects in modern history. A project so gigantic that it eclipses even the feats of the Soviet era. We are talking about the Baikal-Amur Mainline 3, a revolutionary railway project that will radically transform Eurasian geopolitics. But before we dive into this extraordinary adventure, let me reveal some fascinating developments that testify to Russia's current technological dynamism. The Vostochny Cosmodrome has just successfully launched a Soyuz rocket carrying the Condor satellite, marking a new stage in Russia's space conquest. At the same time, the armed forces have taken delivery of a new series of Sukhoi fighter bombers, while in Nizhny Novgorod, production of the Okhotnik missile complex is entering the industrial phase. This technological boom does not stop there. A revolutionary hydrofoil from the Valdai project has just been launched, and Baikal International Airport is inaugurating an ultramodern terminal. In the energy sector, a spent nuclear fuel processing complex is becoming operational, while in Siberia, the country's largest anthracite deposit is finally being exploited. But let's return to our main topic. Why is Russia investing so heavily in this third phase of the Baikal-Amur Mainline? The history of this legendary railway line is worth telling, as it reveals the monumental geostrategic challenges of our time. It all began under Stalin, when Soviet engineers designed this daring railway link. But his death brought the work to an abrupt halt. It was not until 1969, when Sino-Soviet relations deteriorated dramatically, that Moscow realized the absolute urgency of this project. The Trans-Siberian Railway, too close to the Chinese border, was becoming vulnerable in the event of armed conflict. It was imperative to create a strategic alternative, located deeper within Russian territory. The scale of the challenge was staggering, building a railway line several thousand kilometers long through the Siberian taiga, crossing mountains, digging tunnels through permafrost, and all in extreme weather conditions. The Soviet Union mobilized all its human and technological resources for this titanic undertaking. In 1984, after 15 years of relentless effort, the line was finally completed. It instantly became one of the longest railways in the world, opening up previously inaccessible mineral deposits and connecting entire regions to the rest of the country. But the collapse of the USSR turned everything upside down. Liberal ideologues, led by Yegor Gaidar, stigmatized the project as an economic aberration. Gaidar bluntly declared that the Baikal-Amur Mainline was a typical example of an economically absurd socialist project. In his view, no one had ever asked the fundamental question: why build this railroad and what would be transported on it? This vision proved prophetic for a few years. In 1997, rail traffic fell by half compared to its 1990 peak. The post-Soviet economic collapse effectively rendered this infrastructure underutilized. Many saw this as confirmation that the project was a colossal mistake. However, history would prove them spectacularly wrong. Around 2010, as Russia regained political and economic stability, leaders realized that the phenomenal growth in Asian consumption would radically transform global trade flows. China, India, Japan, and South Korea developed an insatiable appetite for Russian natural resources. In 2013, an ambitious modernization plan was adopted. It included the renovation of 1,500 kilometers of track, the reconstruction of the Severomuisk tunnel, an extraordinary technical challenge, and the modernization of 39 main stations. At the same time, the Trans-Siberian Railway also underwent a major technological upgrade. This strategic foresight proved providential. When Western sanctions hit Russia, the country was able to immediately redirect its exports to Asia thanks to this modernized infrastructure. Without this preparatory work, the economic impact would have been devastating. Today, in 2024, the second phase of modernization is nearing completion, but Russia's ambition does not stop there. Vladimir Putin has just approved the third stage, nicknamed Baikal-Amur Magistral 3, which is more complex than anything that has been done before. This new pharaonic project includes the construction of 2,000 kilometers of additional track, 3 of the world's most complex tunnels, a spectacular bridge over the Amur River, and hundreds of engineering structures. But the most revolutionary goal remains the complete electrification of the main line. This electrification poses a colossal energy challenge. Rosatom is proposing the construction of 3 nuclear power plants in Vladivostok, Khabarovsk, and Komsomolsk-on-Amur, supplemented by small power reactors in Yakutia and Chukotka. In total, more than 4 gigawatts of additional capacity will be required. But why such an investment? The figures speak for themselves. The Baikal-Amur Mainline currently generates 150,000 direct jobs in the Russian Far East and transports 23 million passengers annually. Its contribution to Russian GDP over the last 10 years has reached 1.4 trillion rubles, despite still insufficient transport capacity. More fundamentally, this infrastructure is becoming the backbone of Siberian and Arctic development. It now connects to the Lena River near Yakutsk, creating a link with the Northern Sea route. The Elena Bridge, currently under construction, will integrate new ports into a unified logistics concept. This vision is part of a long-term strategy that includes the revival of the Northern Sea route, the Baikal-Amur and Barenskoye projects, and the North Siberian Railway. Russia's vast territory, long perceived as a handicap, is becoming a major strategic asset. At the same time, Russian civil aviation is making remarkable progress. The Tu-14 flying laboratory has just completed its first flights after replacing all its imported components, 15 main systems and 30 secondary systems. This technological Russification is paving the way for mass production at the Kazan aircraft factory. The Ilyushin IL-114-300 is also continuing its trials with confidence. Its second prototype recently completed a 3-hour 50-minute flight, validating the integrated Russian systems. Between October and November 2024, 12 test flights were successfully completed. A particularly intriguing new development is emerging with the Tango training aircraft, developed by S7. Using innovative composite materials, it can fly at just 65 km per hour in takeoff configuration, a remarkable technical feat made possible by the new APD-520 piston engine currently being finalized. This industrial renaissance is accompanied by heroic acts that remind us of fundamental human values. In Izhevsk, Nikita Nekrasov risked his life to save a female driver whose car had overturned into a river. Despite the door being jammed and the cabin filling with water, he dived in immediately and, with the help of another passerby equipped with a crowbar, managed to extract the victim at the last minute. These stories perfectly illustrate the spirit of determination that currently animates Russia. Whether through colossal infrastructure projects or everyday acts of solidarity, the country seems to be regaining a momentum for development and confidence in the future that contrasts sharply with the years of post-Soviet uncertainty. The Baikal-Amur Mainline 3 symbolizes this transformation. Where Yegor Gaidar saw only economic waste, the foundations of a new Eurasian geopolitics are now emerging that could redefine the global balance for decades to come.